Cardiovascular events caused by cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of Afro-American women. Okay? Let me say that again because I was expecting more of a gasp when I said it, So I'll say it again, and on cue, on 3, I'll see if we can get you the gasp, okay? Cardiovascular events from cardiovascular diseases are the #1 killer of Afro-American women. Okay, now we can proceed. Now, okay, and you know what? That doesn't have to be the case. You can control, if not prevent, some of the events that arrive from cardiovascular disease. But it requires you to take charge and to. Okay, now the heart. The heart is a muscle about the size, a little larger than your fist, that lies inside of the thoracic cavity here. It beats about 2.5 billion times in your lifetime. That is if you live on the average about 77 years of life, okay? That's a lot of beating, okay? It's a passion of mine, the heart's a passion of mine simply because it is the only organ system of the human body that starts about 6 weeks into the first trimester of pregnancy and then beats unstopping 24/7 for the rest of your life, except for times when you get your heart broken or things like that. Other than that, and it does this. I need my hands. I'll get behind the mic. I'll try this. Because I want you to see that when it's beating, I can't do it. Okay. It's a cultural thing. That's what the mayor told me over here, that we have to use our hands to speak, So I don't like mics. Anyway, there are 3 phases, 3 things that are important about the heart to remember. One of them is systole, the other one's diastole, and then there's the rate of the heart. Now, most of you know those 2 numbers, those 2 words, systole or systolic beat, and diastole, which would come from diastolic. Okay. Actually, the heart doesn't do what we think it does, and that's beat like this. Boom, boom. It doesn't do that, really. It has to, blood comes into the heart, it leaves the heart and goes into the lungs, gets oxygenated, comes out of there back into the heart, and then the heart beats into the rest of the organs of the body through the aorta. Now, so actually, there's 2 beats per cycle of the heart, and it's more like this. Bump, 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 bump. That's what it's actually doing. Now, I'm telling you that because this is all going to tie in later on, okay? Some things about the heart. The relationship between the heart beating slower, the rate of the heart, and the diastolic and systolic blood pressure. Okay. As your heart beats faster, it doesn't have to beat as hard, okay? Because you're trying to move a blood volume, you're trying to move blood from one part of the body to the next part of the body. That's what you're trying to do. So when your heart beats slower, when it goes slower, it does not have to beat that hard, okay? Now, so the rate is inversely proportional to the pressure of the heart, okay? Now, let me get all this straight. So when you're taking your blood pressure, you see that upper number, which we call systole. That's when the heart is at its fullest compression. All the pressure is on the heart and is beating, pushing blood into the aorta, into the rest of the body. Now the heart is never at 0, but the bottom number is when in between that, we call that diastole, that in between that, there's still pressure on the heart, but it's not 0 because it never is zero again, but it's lower. So what you're trying to do, what we're doing when we're reading that number, is say, if it goes above a certain number, then that pressure is too great for the heart, okay? If it stays there for any length of time, it puts too much pressure on the heart. And keep in mind, the heart has to beat how many times in your lifetime? Yeah, that's a lot of times. So if most of the time it's high, then guess what? You're going to lose some action on that organ of the body. Think about it. You don't know anything that man had made, that you can start in motion, that's mechanical, start in motion and have it perform 24/7 for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Nothing. That's how miraculous the heart is. It just continues to do that. So if anything that you can do to lessen its load, of course, should be extend your life or prevent some of the cardiovascular events that you might have. Okay. Back to the lower number. Let me give you a little history about the numbers and little trivia. Those numbers are from the old school, the old German school of measuring your blood pressure. It was from millimeters of mercury. And maybe some of you remember the old mercury sphygis. We call them sphygis for the German word sphygmomanometer. Okay, what it did was it measured the amount of mercury that your blood pressure, that your pressure would displace in a tube of mercury. Okay, so we just took those numbers and transferred them back over to a digital system so that it's easier to read. That's all. But that's what they're referring to. How many millimeters of mercury would your blood pressure displace if you put a tube inside of your arm, and then your heart would beat and it would push with the force of your heart into the mercury. That's what it's doing. Okay. Okay. That'll be on the trivial quiz somewhere. So remember that. Okay. Now the let's go now with the things that you can do. That's enough about the heart itself. And if you have any other questions, I'll entertain them afterwards. Okay. The first thing is combination therapy. That's one of the 3 C's, combination therapy. Combination therapy came out of years ago when you went to your doctor for hypertension, they measured your blood pressure. They said the only things we had were hydrochlorothiazide, a little peach tablet, maybe most of you know, that's one of the first tablets for your hypertension. And it was a miracle drug at the time. What it did was it attacked the blood pressure by, by reducing the water volume. Okay, you have a certain amount of water in your bloodstream. Well, it reduced that. By reducing the water volume, then your heart didn't have to push so hard in order to push the blood through the vessels. Okay, but it had a secondary effect. About 2 weeks after you were taking it, it would also sort of reduce the blood pressure, but nobody knew why. The scientists didn't know why it was doing it. And to this day, we don't understand how it works, but it works. And that's what you're going to stay with it. And then when you needed something extra, we would go to another tablet and add that. Go to another tablet and add it on until you got to a point where there was only 2 medications available for hypertension. So the third step was to increase the amount you were taking of the medications. And hydrochlorothiazide went from 12.5 milligrams to 25 to 50 to 100 milligrams. Well, you don't see that anymore. You don't see those strengths anymore, simply because the new rationale is, since there are various ways of reducing the pressure on your heart, why don't make medications that will address each one of those ways? One of them is the blood vessels themselves. There's a drug called angiotensin that reduces the resistance to blood flowing through your veins. Then we have beta blockers, calcium channel blockers. There's just a whole array of new medications that are used for your blood pressure. So the new treatment therapy rationale is to give you smaller doses of 4 or 5 different medications. I have people coming into the pharmacy to ask me, well, this one's for blood pressure, this one's for blood pressure, and this one's for blood pressure. Why am I taking 3 or 4 for blood pressure? Well, that's the reason why. It seems to be that's working, and it's a much safer method instead of just bombarding you and giving you a massive dose of one thing that may not even reduce the blood pressure. And that is what was happening, really, that we were given high doses of hydrochlorothiazide and people urinated a lot, but their blood pressure was still the same. Okay, so so combination medicine you'll see a lot of, but ask your pharmacist and your doctor to explain what they expect from each one of them. That's the most important thing, because sometimes in medicine we get a little complacent and we try to treat everybody with the same things. I know you know that. Some of you know that everybody gets the same medication, go to the doctor, and it works for you. So he says, okay, then the next person comes in, and it works for this person, so you give that, and so you have a bunch of people taking the same medicine. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, especially since now we have more of those types of medicine to treat blood pressure. Okay? The second thing, I'm sorry. The second thing is compliance. Of course, you can have all the medication in the world, but if you don't take it, you've got problems. And it's very difficult to get people to take medication, especially medication that you don't feel that it's doing anything, because you actually don't feel that. I know there are people that say, I know when my blood pressure goes up, I know it. When it goes up, I take it. And you know what? They're right. You can't feel, most people can't feel it. But then there are times when it's elevated and you cannot feel it. That's the dangerous part, because that happens more often than the time you can't feel it. So it's very important that you establish a routine. It has to be something, let me rephrase that, not established, that you snatch onto a routine that you already have and put that medicine into that routine. If you try a different routine, what will happen is you just added another thing to do. And you know how that gets in your busy schedules. You forget that, and once you forget that and it's not part of a routine, you routinely forget it. Right? See? So take a routine that you have, the regular normal routine during the day. We had a guy that he put his water by the nightstand each night, and he took his medicine, one of those little tablet reminder things, which are very good to have, by the way. And all classy pharmacies like Rogan's Country Pharmacy have them, okay? Got it in. And he would take it out and put it in his slipper. And then when he woke up in the morning, he'd pull that out, we put his foot in there, and they would hit the tablet reminder, and that would hurt, and then he would pull it out, take the tablet, and he would took it. So something as simple as that, you can try anything you possibly can, but everybody has a daily routine. Just put it into that daily routine, and you'll be more apt to be able to take it every day. Another thing is we have reminders. A lot of pharmacies have these too, reminders. Ask the pharmacist, can you get on the reminder list? What that is we send you a card or call you or text you and say you're due for your medicine. Now, if you get a 30-day supply and you get a call from us saying that you're due to have your medicine refilled and you've got 12 tablets in your bottle, you have probably missed some doses, okay? So a couple of doses anyway. So it helps that way to remind you, and maybe that cycle won't be the best, but then the next cycle you'll be thinking, oh, I'm going to get this call, so maybe I'll go on and take the medicine, or put it into a routine or into your existing routine so that you will take it. Okay, thirdly is monitoring or checking your blood pressure. There are a lot of blood pressure monitors out there, and for most insurance companies now cover them. And I don't think people know that. The information is not really out there. Medicaid does, Medicare does not, but Medicaid does, and a lot of private insurances cover monitors. This is good because when you see an actual number on a regular basis, you're more apt to be important to you. If somebody just tells you something, like when every so often you go to the doctor's office, you get that number, well, it's in your mind then. You go on, and there are 100 other things that you use to carry on your normal daily activities that take place of that. So now it doesn't even make any sense anymore. But if you see it daily, you can then make adjustments during the day for that. That would be also helpful to take the next dose, things like that. So I think it's a great idea. It's a good investment if your insurance doesn't pay for it to purchase one and do that. It's recommended that you take it at least once a day in the morning, and then twice a day right before you retire is a good time too. What happens to your blood pressure is it follows a circadian rhythm, and it peaks around 6 o'clock in the morning when your cholesterol is high. Not the same cholesterol that causes a hypercholesterolemia. It's a different cholesterol. But anyway, it peaks about that time. That's why you have a lot of black men have heart attacks in the morning. I don't know if you know that, but that's where the optimum time for having heart attacks, because it peaks and gets real high then it drops off, and about midday it's coasting, then at night it starts to rise until about time for retirement, and then it goes back to normal. So that's the normal cycle, that's normal. But if you can see that during the day, then you're probably more apt to make any type of correction you need to make for that day, and since you've recorded it, you can get that back to your doctor. And let your doctor know that, yeah, here's what I'm seeing on a regular basis. I'm seeing my blood pressure up above what my target blood pressure should be. 140 is what the doctor wanted you to have, and now you're at 150 almost every day. Then it's easier to get back to your doctor and say, well, it's not staying down there. If you take it at different times of the day, then you're going to see different things, because your blood pressure is static. It changes all the time. Your blood pressure changes with every beat of your heart. Every beat it changes. It can't be the same, because the heart is monitoring your blood pressure. It's monitoring it. So if you need more blood, it beats harder or faster. Remember, relationship, harder or faster to get that blood to where it has to be. Let's see. I gotta get out of here. I gotta move. I can't stand in one place. Okay, well, I'm not going to go into any more detail. I think right now you get an idea of how important it is for you to follow a regimen, to monitor your blood pressure, and to get information back to your doctor, feed the information back to your doctor, so that if there has to be any changes, those changes can be made. It's extremely critical that you do that.
How long does it take my body, to balance back out? If I say, okay, I've missed 3 days, so I don't take 3 doses, I know that. But if I take one, how long does it take to get me back where I need to be in a safety zone?
Very good question. And we didn't set this up, okay? Very good question. It's actually really dangerous when you miss doses, especially if you're taking what we call a calcium channel blocker. The way calcium channel blockers work is they control the pressure on the heart like a rubber band, okay? Because they pull and tug on the actual muscles of the heart, okay? So when you miss a dose, if you're going along at 120, say your systolic is 120, that's nice. I'd say 120 over 80, and you're just going along, it's beating at that rate. You miss a dose, then because that medicine is so powerful in keeping it down, it jumps up. It doesn't slowly go back up to where your hypertension was prior to that. It jumps up there. And now if that medicine was controlling your blood pressure at 100 for 180 and brought it down to 120, you now have a big jump and big pressure on the heart going from 120 to 180. So you're putting yourself in danger of having a heart attack or some type of stroke by doing that. That's why I don't know how to really stress that it's important for all of them, but especially for calcium channel blockers. You'll see those CCRs, we call them, Bs. You'll see those out there. You ask your pharmacist or your doctor, and they'll tell you, most of the time we'll tell you, and don't miss a dose. Of course, we say that on everything, but we'll come specifically to tell you, don't take a dose, don't miss a dose. But yeah, that's let me answer your question now, not that you've done it. So when you find out that you have missed a dose, just go to the next dose. Let's go to the next dose. Don't double up on any antihypertensive medication. Go to your next dose, whatever that's going to be, and that'll be your new cycle. Again, good question. It varies with the medication itself. There are some forms of medication that are designed to be taken in the evening so that it tries to capture that period where your circadian rhythm pushes your cholesterol up to about 600 that time of the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning. And so we try to catch it by having you take it in the evening on retiring so that you can catch that peak. But the majority should be taken in the morning, especially the water tablets. You don't have to take them in the evening. Every once in a while, your doctor will divide that water tablet up into 2 doses, and that's only because he is determined, or she is determined, that you are a fast metabolizer. So therefore, that dose is not going to last you for 24 hours. So they will divide it sometimes and have you take it in the evening for that reason. Okay. Answer?
Ms. Dwayne?
Okay.
Did
Yes.
I hear you say you should check your blood pressure every day?
Every day. Every day. At least once a day. Another good time to check it would be upon retiring too, to see what do you go into sleep with. Okay. It doesn't hurt. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. When she was talking about leaving her medicine somewhere, like at home, would a person be able to just go to the pharmacy, of the local pharmacy, and see if they can get a dosage, 2 or 3 or whatever it is? I've heard of people doing that when they leave their medicine, they don't have their prescriptions with them, but with the type of technology that we have and all that, they keep everything on file. So I'm just wondering, is that something that you absolutely don't have your medicine, could you do that?
Yes and no. In most states, pharmacists are allowed to give you a 3-day supply of medication without question, as long as you have a container that identifies you, the doctor, the medication, and the last time you got it. Okay? Now, having said that, if you don't, and you think you're going to be there for any length of time, you can just present yourself to any pharmacy and tell them where you got your medicine the last time, and we'll call and transfer the prescription. Now that sometimes is a problem, transferring, because then it has to go back, and some states don't allow the prescriptions to go back. But we'll know if you come to us, we'll let you know if it can. And the only problem that would be is you'd have to go back to your doctor or contact your doctor again when you get back home to get a new prescription. But it's a good idea.
Spending a whole week without your medicine.
Right, oh, sure. But I don't know of any pharmacy that will not do that for you, but you have to be there. Another good thing to do is keep receipts of your prescriptions in your purse. Then when you have to run out of town real quick, you give that receipt to a pharmacist, and most of them will do that for you too. Of course, it would be better if you had the bottles, but we've already discussed that. You've forgotten the bottles. And that happens. I mean, well, let me go back a step. That wouldn't happen as often if you were monitoring and checking. That wouldn't happen that often. Every day. Okay. Any more? You have a question. I see it in your eyes. No, you're waiting for me to leave. You know? Okay. Okay, I'll give you a quick one because that's not the subject, but I'll give you a quick one. It's extremely important that you take all the antibiotic because of what we call superinfections. If you don't take enough of it, sometimes the invading organism will take the antibiotic and make it food. And you don't kill them all, so then now they survive and that sustains them. Then when you go back to take it the next time, it doesn't work at all. Okay? And you might create microorganisms that are toxic to you by doing that. You just have to, most of only 10 days, and we've gotten it down to 1 thing a day. Most antibiotics now are 1 unit per day. That's to force compliance so that you do a better job on it. But if you should again miss a dose, it varies with antibiotics. Call your pharmacist and ask your pharmacist, because some you should double up, some you should not double up. No, that's a good question too. That happens because the culprit is niacin. Niacin is nicotinic acid, and niacinamide is a salt of nicotinic acid. Okay, if you've got, it's kind of hard to get a perfect form of either one of them. So sometimes you have more of one than the other. If it's more toward the amide side, you get the yellow. If it's more toward the acid side, you get clear. That's all. But it's the same thing, because once your body metabolizes it, it all becomes niacinamide. Okay.
So it's no problem.
So no problem, no. I'll be able to answer them for you, hopefully. Thank you. Okay.
I appreciate you. And let me give you.